Awesome. So welcome to the Zoom. I am so excited to have you guys here and to whoever ends up joining us. And I'm so excited to get to play with you guys again. Um, so what precipitated this is I had a session with Karen when I was in Vegas recently. And wow, I really don't have words. And it's not often that I'm speechless. So yeah. And I want to know more. And I started telling people about my session, and they want to know more. So we're here so that they can know more.
Oh, that's so cool. Andrea, thank you so much. Thank you so much for just even suggesting this and getting together and wanting to know more, because it's time for me to talk about it more. And I was asking how can I create that? And then you asked me the question, and it showed up, and I was at first like, oh my God, what's going on? And then it's like, oh, right, I did ask. Yes,
oh, wait.
Listening. The universe is listening.
Yeah.
Oh my, how did all this start? This started actually a couple years ago. I mean, I am a professional singer. I've been singing professionally for a long time, many decades. And I had never really thought about sound as being such a powerful thing. I mean, you as a singer, as a musician, you step into that world and it's very structured, and though it is connected to feelings, it's never really, it's a structured world, and so I had never really thought about what actually was going on energetically when I sang. I mean, had an idea, because I would have people say to me, oh my God, I was feeling like such crap when I came to the concert tonight, and now I feel so good. And I was like, wow, that's awesome, and I just thought, it's the power of music. And yes, the music does have the power to completely shift moods. But it's so much greater than that. And so a couple of years ago, I was in one of those places of, what do I do now? I've done a lot. I've traveled the world. I've been very lucky to take my singing on the road. But what else? What else is possible? What do I, because I had been singing all over the world, and I was an access facilitator for a good 10 years. And which I loved, but I felt that there was something else that I really wanted to focus on. I wanted to focus on something that had more to do with me, and I didn't know what that was. So I did some soul searching, quote unquote, and then I had a session with a psychic. I was like, yeah, okay. My friend said she was really good, so I was like, okay, well, we'll give it a go. See what the possibilities are, because I think that any psychic session you have is really based on your energy now, and everything could change tomorrow. In the meantime, I was open to receiving information. So I got some information, and one of the things they said was that I have an amazing ability to heal with sound. And I was like, what? How everything in your world, like your ears pop up like a dog, like, what? What was that? Yes. And it was like, oh, sound. Yeah, I already work with sound, but what is this? Like I apparently have had other lifetimes where I was just like this amazing sound healer. Okay, whatever. That's great to know, but what about now? So I started to, OCC that I am, that's obsessive compulsive creator for those of you who I went online and I started gathering information, and I talked to people about it, and I said, oh, you should check out this and you should check out that. And then there was an ad from a guy named Jonathan Goldman, who was probably one of the pioneers of sound healing. And it was for a 9-day sound intensive. I was like, I'm going. So I got my tickets early and I went, and wow, what a powerful experience. It's the whole thing about resonance. You know how something resonates with you? It's like when you first heard about Access Consciousness, there was something about the energy of it that you can't put into words, but that there's something there that's like, whatever that is, I want to do that.
Yep.
And that's exactly when I saw the ad for that, I'm going. And when I was there, it was, there was a lot of, la-di-da sound and, and, a lot of other things that I'm not necessarily, kumbaya about, because that's just not me, which isn't to say it's not valid and it doesn't work for other people. However, I did enjoy myself. I've met some really amazing sound healers from all over the world, really South Africa, Australia. It was like being at an Access 1 week freeform event.
Cool.
So many different kinds of people from all over. And so people had like crystal singing bowls. I had never heard of crystal singing bowls. I had seen Tibetan bowls. I had heard about the monks chanting, and I had heard about, I hadn't heard about overtone singing. I learned about overtone singing. I heard gongs. And then we did this thing that I'll never forget, because it was a day of toning. And toning literally is using your voice, basically just holding a tone. So you just pick any tone with all open vowel sounds, which are supposed to be very, very powerful, because every language on the planet has vowel sounds, okay? And those vowel sounds seem to open something. Now, I don't know if that's true, but you can try it for yourself, because humming apparently also works quite well. The vibrations in and of themselves are just so powerful. So we did a full day. So we had 3 groups. So we're 80 people. So we had 3 groups rotating. So I did it twice, basically, right? And when you were not toning, so you would do it for an hour, and then you would go out into it was like a campus. You'd go out into the campus, but no talking. It was like, holy crap. I mean, have you got, I know they have like major silent meditations that they talk about. You know, Oprah did a whole thing about going on these like 3-day silent meditations. Well, try doing immense amounts of sound and then silence for an hour. Or you could stay in the room where they were toning and just listen. And in the room, they also had geometric figures, sacred geometry figures that you could sit in. So they were big enough. They had chairs in them. So it was just like this amazing day. I'll never forget it, because every time I went silent, I would fall asleep. Whenever we were outside, and I was just waiting to go back into the room, and I wasn't talking, my mind was like going, and then I would kind of like relax, and then I was out, I was gone. So it was almost like going in and out of other dimensions, so many dimensions, because the sound itself created so much awareness in my cells, because my whole body was reverberating in sound, and then the sounds around me, and not just my sound, everyone's sound, and then all of the overtones, because every voice has levels to it. So it's not just your voice. If you were to record your voice and they were to look at it in the terms of spectrum, you have all of these different sounds to your voice, which of course makes the thumbprint or the voice print that makes your voice so unique. So just truly fascinating stuff. But that day I'll never forget, because I've never experienced anything like that. I've experienced it close to maybe at the end of the 7 days with Access, at an Access 7 day.
Yeah.
It was something like that, but this was after 1 day. So I don't know what was being moved around. I don't know what, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but I'll tell you this. If you ever get the opportunity to have a full day of toning, of sound and silence, sound, silence meditation day, do it, because it will shift your world. It'll shift it.
That's something I've never thought about.
I'm sure. Right. And you were talking to me because I have a weekly sound bath here in Vegas. So if you're ever in Las Vegas on a Sunday and you're bored with the Strip, or you want to do something different, or you go out hiking perhaps during the day, and then the end of the day you want to calm down, you can always come to the sound bath, which is also a great idea. And there's some great restaurants afterwards for dinner. When Andrea came to the sound bath that I did, she spoke to me afterwards about how the sound, holding the sound, was a little bit difficult. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was really interesting. So I was so blessed to be able to go to the sound bath while I was in Vegas too. And at some point you invited us all to make a sound, any sound. And I think there was about 14 or 15 of us in this room at the time. And I used to sing, not professionally, but in choirs and things. It's been a long time. I didn't realize how long it had been until you asked us to make this sound, and I couldn't sustain it for very long. I didn't have the breath, and that was very interesting to me. I hadn't realized that had changed so dramatically in the time, from when I was singing regularly to now. Right. And it was a cool experience. It wasn't about a beautiful sound. It was just about making a sound. And I liked that.
Yeah, a lot of people go into judgment of the sound that they're making, which is always so funny to me. I was like, no, 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 this isn't about singing. I'll do the singing, you know. later in the meditation, I always join the singing bowls. I sing with the singing bowls, following just whatever comes through for whatever the vibration is for that day. But, you know, holding a tone, holding a sound, it's not unusual what you're saying, because a lot of people are really uncomfortable with their voices, be it due to they haven't used it in years, be it because sound is just like the only time that you sustain sound is when you're screaming at somebody.
It's amazing how we can sustain it then.
Right.
No problems whatsoever.
Right, or like when you're howling, if you're crying or something like that,
yeah.
That's also a sustained sound.
Yeah.
It's not something that you do in our world.
One of the things that I'll say I've noticed is it has a great bearing whether I'm sitting upright or I often use the gravity chair. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I've noted, or on the floor, either of those locations, I don't have the breath. Like I've noted, I've played with it now that I've done the meditation enough times,
right?
That if I really want to, like I actually have to pay attention to filling my lungs. But I've also sort of let that go for the toning part as well, because that's not the point. Holding it and sustaining it, especially competing against a professional singer.
Well, I wasn't competing, but thank you for the out, because I was in a zero gravity chair.
But you know, it's interesting.
It makes a big difference.
Well, you know, the funny thing is that we're not, you know, if you haven't been using your diaphragm, you're not going to feel comfortable connecting to your diaphragm. And laying on the ground, you should have pretty good access to your diaphragm. So I guess I could probably do like a quick lesson in diaphragmatic breathing before we start the sound bath. I guess I could also do that just to get people connected. But I'm going to tell you something about sound. Once you start using it, then you connect a lot easier. Maybe in the beginning, like I hear people who get a scratchy throat a little bit once they start making sound, because they're not used to sound. They're not used to the vibrations. And so they literally move a little bit of phlegm around, because the phlegm is moving on their vocal cords, trying to figure out what the heck are you doing.
This is new for me.
Right? This is new. You're like going, It's not just a it's a
Yeah.
And then I like to play with sound. So I'll play with it. If I have a rasp, I'll play with the rasp. I'm like, let it be raspy. Who cares? You know, maybe that's exactly what your body's asking for. What if that's what your body's asking for? Whatever sound that comes through. There's this lady, I think her name is Sherry, what is your last name? Anyway, she has a gift of listening to someone speak. And from their speaking voice, she can tell you what frequency is missing and what that frequency is connected to in their body.
Wow.
So she will tell you, right, she will tell you, you need to take care of your liver. I can hear it in your voice.
Wow.
And then she not only did that, this woman's got, you know, she connected with some kind of interesting programmer, and they created a tone box that will create the tone that is missing from your voice to heal you. Is it Sherry? Cool. Sherry? I can't remember her name, but if you just look up tone box, you'll find her. And I thought that was fascinating because I had never heard of anything like that. And I think she's out of Michigan or Ohio, somewhere in the Midwest up there somewhere. Fascinating. I mean, fascinating. I've learned so many things about sound that before this, I think I had gone to music camp, as most music kids do. And we had this great teacher who was like really kind of very funky and, you know, like modern. And he had us doing like weird things, like we had like 200 people in this camp. And we were all in this like advanced music or advanced popular or advanced modern sounds, I think it was called. And he would have us all snapping like this. And it sounded like you were in a rainforest.
Oh, cool.
And then while we were doing that, he had a few guys and women take off their belts and snap them. And it sounded like trees were like, the branches were falling off of trees. It was just like mind blowing. I think that was one of the first experiences I had about sound itself, you know, and how powerful it is, just the sounds that are constantly with us day to day. But while I was at this, getting back to the sound intensive, we talked about tuning forks, and we talked about toning. Like if I tone my voice down your body, if you're standing, and I make a sound, there'll be a point where your body's maybe has tension or where it's blocked energetically, and there will be a change in my tone. I thought that was fascinating too. I was like, what?
That's cool.
Right? Now, if you,
it goes along with the same thing like the dolphin sonar ping, yep.
Yes, exactly. And we have it too. It's just it's something we don't talk about. Like Edgar Cayce says that sound is the medicine of the future. And he said that back in the 30s, I think late 30s, early 40s, right? Edgar Cayce, for those of you who don't know who Edgar Cayce is, he's one of the most famous channels. He was called the Sleeping Prophet because he was a Sunday school teacher, and he was a portrait photographer, very square, and he would fall asleep and this being would speak through him and he cured thousands and thousands of people with very basic natural ingredients from the planet. He like knew how to go into this house in the cellar behind the back. There is a jar of this substance. I mean, this guy was amazing. I mean, there's a whole library that I had the pleasure of taking a vacation with my mom to go and see years ago. And it was just such a great trip. And it's a beautiful space. I mean, just a library of information. He said sound is the medicine of the future. I think that sound is totally underrated. I mean, they use it for ultrasound.
Yeah.
But they haven't really allowed the power of sound to really take place because they can't really make a lot of money on it. Unless, of course, you're a tuning fork producer or a singing bowl producer. You know, if there's no money in it, then what's the point, right? Yeah. But if I could tell you, go home and sing off for an hour, and I'm sure you'll feel a lot better. You know, your disease will be gone. I don't think that medicine really is ready for that.
No.
However, I think that people like us, people who are literally asking questions and seeking something greater or more, are discovering that we have a lot of natural things. Like, of course, we talk about food. We talk about light. There's also people who use light to heal. They use colors to heal. We talk about acupuncture, sticking, needles into certain energetic points in your body that literally shift your whole biofield, your whole morphogenic field. I think that's what they call it. There's so many names for the same thing. It's the same thing. So literally what I believe that I'm doing after lots and lots of practice, because I just allow the energy to talk to me. I listen for the energy. So, it's so funny. We think of sound as being something that is audible. Sound is not audible. We just have these things called ears that translate, that interpret sound. So if you think about interpretation, just the word interpretation, how many languages are interpreted on this planet? And how much of our interpretations are unique to the individual who interprets? Right? Just like when we translate from the Bible, the old Aramaic has been translated and translated and retranslated, and then there's always some nuance that they hadn't realized before. So it's the same thing with sound. There's nuance, and then there's things that are beyond your ears, and that's what I believe that Access gave me the opportunity. Access consciousness, for those of you who don't know what that is, it is an amazing modality. That it gave me the opening to be aware of the field, of the area around the body, not to limit it because it's very huge, but to have an awareness of that space, of the space around each person and where they're vibrating and what what the sound, when I'm listening to the sound, I'm listening for things like with my tuning forks. I'll put the tuning forks around the body. And I've taken a few courses on it, but the courses always seem to me very structural and very rigid, which isn't to say that they don't work that way too. I don't want to knock that, because people have spent time getting to that, and I appreciate them for what they gave to me. But I think that what I've done with it is I ask a lot of questions. So do I need to add sound here? Do I need to add my sound to what I'm hearing? What sound needs to be made? What sound is required here? So it's the same thing if you use your hands in like Symphony of Possibilities. It's like where are you putting, what's the energy? So sound is just another name for energy. It's another gift from God. It's like some people, when they put their hands above a body, they feel light, like it's lighter over here, or it's heavier over here, or there's color, there's a beautiful red here. So everyone's got their own gift to become aware of how they can contribute to someone's healing, right?
So Karen, can I go back to something you said a minute ago? You were saying that sound is interpreted, right, through our ears. So is the implication there that you actually don't have to hear sound for it to be able to have a healing effect on you and your body?
Absolutely, yes.
So is it the vibrations of the sound?
Exactly, because sound has vibrations as well as it has, this is my personal interesting point of view, is that it has vibrations, but it also has energy. Okay, so and I think it has the ability to morph. Because when I'm playing with the bowl, sometimes you'll hear the tone of the bowl. So I'm playing the bowl. For those of you who don't, this is a crystal bowl. This is one of my favorite bowls, and she sings beautifully. So when I play her, she gives off a really beautiful tone. Right now, she's basically pretty happy. I talk to them, and they talk to me. I've always had a thing about objects, and not surprised that I'm making objects. Anyway, that's a whole nother discussion. So when I'm playing the bowls in a meditation and something shifts, I hear other tones. Okay, now I don't know if everybody else hears them, but I'll hear something weird, like that has nothing to do with the harmonic structure of this bowl. Okay, now I've been singing for over 30 years, so I have a pretty good ear, and I'll know, and like my bass player is like, dude, you need to tune or something. What was that? I'll hear sounds, from my band, and so I have a pretty good ear. And when I hear those tones, I know that something has like shifted, like something big has shifted, not necessarily just with, let's say one person over here or one person over there, but perhaps the whole room just stepped into a whole nother place. And it's really beautiful because you don't expect it. You're just like playing the sounds. Oh, isn't this lovely? Got this lovely sound. It's making this beautiful tone. Wow. For myself personally, physically, I will make a sound that's like, what the heck is that? Sometimes it's very guttural. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. And I'll have to ask whoever's participating and using my vocal cords to take it easy. Take it easy. That's too much for me.
Now, what I find interesting is when you were just playing the bowl, even though we're over the computer, I'm not in the room with you, I don't know how many hundreds of miles away, it's my body's vibrating inside from the tone of that bowl. And that is flippin' cool.
Isn't that flippin' cool?
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever experienced that via a Zoom or over some kind of modality. So that's cool.
It is pretty cool, right? These crystal bowls are, they're made of crystal. And if you know anything about crystal, you'll know that it has properties that, I have a crystal with me because I've been using, I never knew anything about this stuff. I was kind of like, yeah, crystals, la, 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 woo, woo, woo. And now I'm like, welcome to woo, woo, wonderland. That's cool. We're gonna re-record. We're gonna re-record Boogie Wonderland. We're gonna go Woo Woo Wonderland. Okay, sorry. So, but these things, they're using computers, they're using radios, they're using lighters, and when you contain a crystal, it literally it's a charge. And how amazing that this comes from our planet. I mean, this is just part of our Earth, and it's a gift. And I'm not to say that it's right or wrong or good or bad or anything. It's just a lovely gift. And how would you like to utilize it? How would you like to use it? So these bowls are made of this. So we're playing them. They're singing. Like, you imagine like 1,000 of these all singing at the same time, and amplifying whatever it is that you're asking for. So that bowl has been in many, many sound baths now. So there's been it absorbs energy, right? These crystals, they absorb energy. So what are you bringing to the table? I've been using that a lot lately. How are you setting your table? Are you setting your table with mismatched forks, but gorgeous forks? I'm not trying to indicate how you should set your table, but when you're thinking about your world and how you're creating it, what are you bringing to it? What are you bringing to the table? Are you bringing things that literally make your whole body vibrate with joy? Or are you bringing things, oh yeah, I got it on sale for $2, so I'm really happy with it?
Is that the New Jersey Jewish woman that was doing that?
That's the Brooklyn Jewish woman, my neighbor. She raised me. Well, she took care of me a lot.
One of the things the sound bath and the session with you are two very different experiences.
Yes.
And so in the session with me, you were using your tuning forks and you were using the crystal bowls, but only one at a time, if I remember correctly. Don't know, my eyes were closed, I wasn't watching, but it was amazing how the inside of my body was vibrating every time you used one of those instruments.
They say that, that these bowls and sound literally creates an internal massage. So we always think about, I'll get a massage, I'll feel much better. But people don't realize that sound literally vibrates through your cells, your molecules, your blood, your bones, your muscles internally. So it's a completely different perception of release and relaxation.
And then in a sound bath, you were playing a multitude of bowls. And I don't remember what else. There were a few other tools that you were using.
I had the rattle, I had a sing cha, which is like baby cymbals.
And at times, people in the room were vocalizing too, so we're adding in 14 different instruments beyond that.
Yes.
Both really powerful experiences and both very different from each other.
Yes. Working with the individual is literally following the energy for that body. And which isn't to say that I'm not connecting to other bodies that are around me, because I'm sure I am. But the literally talking to the body. What does this body require? What are they asking for? We always come back to the question. I believe wholeheartedly in the question. That's probably why Access was such a powerful shift for me 14 years ago when I first started. And so using these tools, I've approached it with the Access modality, which I don't think, there are some other people who do it. I've never connected to them who use the modality with their sound. I just haven't met them. I've been working actually with one gal who was a bars facilitator in New Zealand, and we meet online on a Zoom call once a month. It's called Sounds Good to Me. That's the name of our little series. And we talk about sound. And she also uses singing bowls, and she has like a vocal workshop. And we found each other at this 9-day intensive with Jonathan Goldman in Colorado 2 years ago. So we do have conversations about it. We talk about our own experiences, and we share and we exchange and learn from each other.
So Karen, since you're bringing up Access and the sound, I mean, when we're running bars, one of the most basic things, right? We say no music. Does that also include the bowls?
I have not officially played bowls during a bar session. But it would be interesting, why don't we just ask the question, does it interfere? And I think that you would have to ask the bowls.
Yeah.
You'd have to have the facilitator ask, okay, does this interfere with this position? Or does it contribute to this position? And ask which bowls for what positions. Because I have a feeling that it will probably, when I'm asking just now off the top of my head, would it contribute? I get a yes. So it's not, melodies are really different because melodies are designed to create moods and emotions. And they're designed to move, and they have rhythm, and there's a completely different point of creation, shall I say.
So when the crystal bowls are singing, that's kind of more like water going over rocks or something like that. It's more of an organic sound that isn't, you can keep running water over the same rocks over and over, but the sound it's different. It doesn't, you don't repeat the same 5 notes over and over again. Right. So is that the same thing with crystal bowls?
Yes, I would say so, but I would still ask the position, definitely. But yes, it is. It's like, it's the same sound, but like I said earlier, sometimes it'll do weird shit. So it'll be playing something like, where did that sound come from? Which brings me to, that's why sound isn't always audible. Like, am I the only one hearing it? Do I have the ability to hear things? Just like all of you, do you hear things that I don't hear? It's just like if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? To the person who's in the woods, it does, probably, because they can hear it. Or to the person who is deaf, would they be aware of that tree falling? If they're aware of the real sound, because real sound is not audible. It doesn't have ears. You don't need ears to hear it. Great example. You can sing a song in your head.
True.
Are you making sound?
In my head, I am.
Absolutely. Sound does not have to have a quote unquote physical vibration. Sound, I think, is universal. It's like sound. It's like sound and light. I have this point of view that they say that if you speed up sound really fast, you'll get to light. And if you slow down light, you'll get to sound. Okay. Many scientists dispute that because they're 2 different forms. But for some reason, I really think that they're strongly interconnected.
So, and this kind of goes to that interesting conversation that was going on the internet a couple weeks ago. And they're playing this one little track, and, half the people heard one name and the other people heard the other. And they were talking about how some people only hear a certain level of sound and others only hear another one. And we talk about like hearing things on a dog level because dogs hear things at a different level than we do. Right. So going back to what you were saying about, do you hear what I hear? No pun intended. It would be different. No, we all hear different things based on who we are.
Exactly. So, and imagine the magic of that, because when Moses, was it Moses? No, who was the ark guy? Noah. When Noah heard God and nobody else could hear him, was he really? Perhaps he really heard a voice.
Yeah.
A lot of people would dispute it, but I think that he was listening to something. And he built the boat just in the nick of time. So how often do we, one of the things that when I do an introduction to Access, I've taught this a couple of times, I'll do an introduction to Access using sound. And one of the questions I ask is, how many frequencies have you turned off?
Wow.
Because as we're growing, and just like with our belief systems are structured and created by us, by what we choose, how many things were you leaning towards, but your family or your teachers or whoever said, no, you're going to choose this. And in turn, you just turn all of that off. You're like, okay, I won't listen to those frequencies. I just won't,
Wow.
I won't have the ability to hear them. It's like when two people talk to each other, they're speaking the same language, but they are not communicating.
Oh, I've never experienced that. Never.
Right. It's like a completely different, like, I just cannot understand. It's like a different frequency.
Yeah.
It's so funny because in Access we say, if you can't hear what I'm saying, this is your stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because you've turned it off.
Yeah.
Turned it off. What if you turned on all those frequencies? What if you turned on all the stuff you've turned on off? And what would that look like? What would it be like? I mean, imagine how much more aware you would be, how much more joy you could have, how much more laughter you could have. I mean, there's so many things you just like, I can't hear that. How often have you heard people say that? I just can't hear it.
Yeah.
You know?
Karen, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So we've been talking about sound and energy and its vibration. Does sound have consciousness?
Yes. What do you think? What do you know? It's rather to say.
I definitely get a yes, but it just is a question that popped in my head and we've never talked about it.
Well, you know, our good friend Bubba who will be speaking in Las Vegas next weekend.
Lucky you.
Yes, he's Bubba dumbass, he calls himself, but he's no dumbass, trust me.
No.
He's quite wise. And one of the things that he says is to play Vivaldi's Four Seasons for your water. Because he's a water expert, you know, he's worked with Emoto and he you know, he speaks about the power of water. And he says to literally the frequencies of Vivaldi's Four Seasons will purify your water. So there's a part of a part of what you're saying resonates with that, doesn't it? It's like, oh yeah, so if sound has its own energy or its own consciousness, then that song in itself has its own consciousness. It's just like they say in Access, we also say, when you create something, it has its own consciousness, like your business, it has its own consciousness. Like a song has its own consciousness, a book has its own consciousness. So you speak to the consciousness of whatever it is that's been created and you ask it what it would like to do. So with Vivaldi's Four Seasons, when it was made all those years ago with the joy of the Four Seasons, I mean, you listen to it and it's like, God, it's just so beautiful and so relaxing. It's like he captured an energy of all of our seasons, and it has these beautiful dynamics. It gets really really big, and then it comes down really, really tiny, like you're looking at the tiniest speck of dust or of dirt in a season. You know, it's just dynamic. It's beautiful. It has its own energy. So in any creation of music, or even in a session, one session has its own dynamic, its own power in that moment. Why? Because it's being created now. Then this is the power moment, right? Right now is the power moment. Not 10 minutes ago, not 10 minutes from now, right now. So having the choosing to plug into the dynamic of sound or the energy of sound, which is just another gift. It's another tool, and it's a beautiful tool, and it's a powerful tool. And it's something that we have it's like, if it's not music, people think, oh, well, it's too woo-woo, or it's, you know, it's not my thing. And you know, whatever works for you. I think that sound is just a beautiful way to get there. If you're asking for more, you're asking for healing, or you're asking for better relationships, you're asking to expand your business, you're asking for more joy, what are you asking for? It will be amplified through sound. So give sound a try. And if you're really, you know, I keep hearing about our young people and opioids, and not just our young people, but the whole pharmaceutical industry. Go to a sound bath. Forget the drugs, you know, leave them at home. Come to a sound bath. If you want to get high, great, get high, come to the sound bath. if you really must, I don't have a problem with it. But if you're overdoing the you know, the drug thing, and you're popping pills every day, start to listen to Vivaldi's Four Seasons. Start to listen, find out online what songs calm the spirit. What have other people discovered? What do you know works for you? Perhaps it's, Miles Davis, playing jazz. I don't know. It could be anything. We've got so many gifts of sound. And then you might want to check out these monks. They make some crazy sounds, these guys, with their voices. It's like, what? It's remarkable. And the more I do it, the more fun I have doing it, and the more I discover. So whoever shows up who would like to experience what I do, I say thank you in advance, because I always discover something more with every single person that I work on, every single person that I work with, because it really is the both of us, working together, you being open to receiving it, number one, and me being open to receive the information or the sounds that are going to give you some freedom. And who doesn't want more freedom?
So Ellen, you were at the sound bath that I went to. I've only been to one, and I'm putting you on the spot, sorry. How many sound baths with Karen have you been to, roughly?
Let's say a dozen.
Cool. So do you mind kind of sharing what that creates for you?
For me, it's very much, it's very similar to getting a bar session in the arc that I go through, because often in the middle I get really floaty and have no concept of time, space, where I am. And then afterwards is definitely that sense of peace. It was interesting when Karen was talking about the toning, because I've experimented in the different sound baths with the tone. And one of the things that I find that I really like, I use Om, because when I get to the M, I can feel it vibrating my chest and my body more than almost any other tone. Cool. And that's something that I really, it works for me.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because in that one sound bath, I played with different sounds too. And, I hear something somebody else is doing, I'm like, ooh, let me try that. And no. Or, it really made me realize how individual it is for all of us. And in that moment too, because it changed for me. It's like what worked at the beginning of the sound bath, there was something else that was a greater contribution further on. And that's, sounds that I was making. So even for me in my own body, it shifted in that time frame.
And the other thing that I would say is that it's unique each time, because you have different people, different energy. That's one of the things that I enjoy about it so much, and that I hear so many different things, and I don't have Karen's ear. Like, I wore a headset. I know I'm missing hearing in my left ear, so I don't pick up as finely tuned as she does. But I definitely hear different things. I hear different things in the bowls. I hear different sound energy bouncing around the room. And that to me is one of the things I enjoy the most, is that it is truly a unique experience each time.
I am so envious that you guys have that every darn Sunday. And can I just tell you, every trip to Vegas now is going to be planned around a sound bath. Just saying. What a gift. And that you guys have that so readily available. That's absolutely amazing.
One of the things that it surprises me, you talking about that, and when you were here for Foundation and talking about, I had this picture, it's California and it's just bigger. Like there's more of everything in LA, right? And that someone who had that was envious of the resource we had here was kind of eye-opening to me of, oh, hey, look, look what we're building here in Vegas. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that, and just need to acknowledge, you guys have got an amazing gift in Karen. It's just, yes, I do live in Southern California, and yes, there are lots of people here that play crystal bowls, but I haven't been drawn to many of them. And I know to follow my knowing and go where I'm drawn. And when I found out that there was a sound bath when I was going, it's like, oh yes, we will change class times. We will do whatever we need to do, because totally aware that it was going to be a huge contribution to me and my body and to anybody else that was, that was choosing it. So, yeah.
One of the things that I think Karen has used, but I I'll go ahead and take credit for it, was the description of her unique gift, which is that she has this ability to channel energy into sound.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I stole that. I was like, wow, that's it. I was like, how do I what's the elevator conversation, right? You know, what do you do? Oh yeah, well, yeah, I'm a professional singer and this, and you said, well, yeah, that, I do that. What she just said, I do that. I channel energy into sound. That's what I do. And that sound heals, and that sound changes and shifts lives.
There's a lot of things that come into being. I mean, Karen, you touched on the fact that you've been using the Access Consciousness tools for a very long time. And you facilitate from a space that is so expansive and kind. And that comes through in your sound baths too. So even though you are not facilitating the way you would maybe in a foundation or bars class or something, you are so facilitating the people in the bodies. And the space that you are, the energy that you are, comes through in all of that, whether it's a private session or the sound bath. And so it was cool for me to experience both within a few days, because in the sound bath, you were very vocal, you know, with your voice and the channeling and everything else. In a large part of my session, you personally were not. I mean, you were using the bowls and the tuning forks and everything, but you're not as much your voice in that particular session. Right. And it was still such an enormous gift. So yeah, I just, yeah.
Thank you, 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 thank you.
And what would it take to get you to Southern California?
Whenever you want me to, I'll be there. You just
deal.
Let's just create it, and I have bowls will travel.
Awesome. I like that. Yes, we definitely need to create that. Karen, I'm going to ask you if you'll, hi Nicole. I'm going to ask you if you would show the piece of orgonite that you showed me before we started.
Oh, absolutely.
So this gorgeous creation is actually something that Karen has created. I have a piece of her orgonite that I absolutely love. I commented that it looks like the beach to me, and it does, and I love it. And I've asked Karen that when we get together later in June at the Integratron, to please bring a bunch of the orgonite, because people keep looking at my piece and absolutely love it. And I want that one. I'm just saying, I have dibs.
Okay.
And for anybody who's not familiar with orgonite, Karen, could you talk about it a little bit? Because I'm sure you are much more versed in that than I am.
Well, you know, and once again, I want to refer back to Mr. Bubba, because he was talking about water and how he has this beautiful triangle of water, like these wells of water that connect in like a pyramid form, like a perfect triangle. And he had it placed on like a grounding mat and orgonite, and he just kept talking. I was like, orgonite, what is that? Is that a stone? I've never heard of orgonite. It sounds like some kind of mineral, right? And so I Googled it, of course, because it just jumped out at me. And we talk about resonance and how something, when it resonates with your body just kind of activates, and that's what happened. And I was like, I looked it up and I was like, orgonite, it is a mixture. And then I was like, of course, OCC, I went and read everything I could about orgonite. So orgonite basically is like this was like one of my first creations. This looks like a little muffin, right? Orgonite is made of organic and inorganic materials. It's got metals, so there's copper, there's steel, and brass in this one. And then there's a beautiful crystal in the center of it. And it's wrapped in copper. So it's got this lovely, when you wrap it in copper, it literally creates more of an antenna that is accessing orgone. And what is orgone? Orgone is prana, it's chi, it's scalar energy. It's the energy of the universe. It's the energy, it's zero gravity. They've given it 20 million names. But it is the same energy. It's the energy of the universe, okay? And what has happened is that we are bombarded electromagnetically by cell phones, televisions, the electricity that runs through our homes, through cell towers, and the list goes on, through chemtrails. So we are bombarded, ladies and gentlemen, which doesn't, we can, rise above it energetically. But we've got a little bit of help from our planet with these materials that our planet makes to help us quote unquote, balanced with what, with what we are made of. We're made of the same stuff as the planets, and we vibrate with the frequency of our planet, but not with these electromagnetic frequencies. And that's why more and more people are getting sick. That's why more and more people are not able to reverse their illnesses, because we have all of this extra energy that is not really balancing our ionic sphere. That's what you call it, right? Your ions. You have your positive ions and your negative ions, and they're not balanced. Trust me. So these little babies, they balance you. Yes. And so there's this lovely vibe. I have been sleeping like a rock. Like, I cannot begin to tell you, I've never slept like this before. My mother too. It's like an antenna. And it literally is going out into space, into the cosmos, and deep into the earth. So the energy goes in both directions. And it literally says, okay, you overly processed energy, we're going to balance you out. So disclaimer, some people have some pretty weird things happen to them at first when they get them, because there's a balancing that goes on. So I'm going to tell you that first, but trust me, you're going to love me afterwards for it.
So I happen to be one of those people that's super sensitive to electromagnetic fields, have known that for a while. And Bubba introduced me to it too a while back and says, you need to get some orgonite. So I've actually had orgonite in my place for about 3 years now, and I have it everywhere. I have it in every corner. I have it next to my computer. I have it under the TV. I have it next to my bed. I have a little piece in my purse, and I have a piece in my car. Since I got the orgonite, I have not fried any electronics. And that may not sound like a big deal to you, but to someone who used to do it all the time, it's pretty awesome that I'm no longer frying the electronics. And I tend to forget about it because it's, been there for so long. And yeah, I've been pretty passionate about it. And what Karen's doing with the orgonite is a huge leap beyond the orgonite that I have in my house. I'm just energetically aware of that. So the crystals wrapped in the copper, I don't know what all it is. All I know is my body just about jumped when I saw this one piece. It was like, we must have that. Even with all the orgonite I have in the house, we must have that one.
What's also beautiful about these crystals, the crystals that I wrap and I put in the orgonite, I bring them to the sound baths.
Oh, cool.
And then when I finish the orgonite, I bring them to the sound bath as well. So the orgonite, even after it's been prepared and has a piezoelectric effect of being, squeezed by resin, which makes it work. I bring those to the sound bath too, so they're right in front of the crystal bowls. So that is.
Don't you sing to your crystals too?
I do sing to them as well when I'm making them, and I'm telling them to be what they were designed to be, which is to expand the orgone. Orgone, which is, I love orgone. It's a great name because the guy who created it is named Wilhelm Reich, and he's this Austrian guy who used to work with Freud. He was one of Freud's students. And so orgone literally comes from orgasm, which is like, hello.
How's it get any better than that?
Better than that, right? So there's orgone energy or chi, and Gary would probably agree. Gary's the founder of Access, because he says that creative energy is an orgasmic energy, and that's what this stuff is. It's orgone. So this literally will. I would say that it elevates and amplifies your orgone energy. So your creative energy, your creative flow.
So, and I know that we said the Zoom was about sound, but this is why I said that Karen is magical and multi-talented, because there's so many different aspects that come in, and we've only touched on a few of them, but they come into all her sessions and the sound baths and everything else. And it's so interesting, as you're just talking about the orgonite, I actually got the connection for that with the sound, because it also channels the frequencies. And yes. So it's doing things. And I think for some people, the whole vocalizing can be a little scary, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to go to sound bath because I don't want to make noise. There's no have to. There's the disclaimer, right? Absolutely. It's a choice.
Not have to.
And I love how much you can receive just by being there. You don't have to tone it. That's a choice, and it can add to your experience. And there's so many other things that are contributing all at the same time. And Ellen, I saw a light bulb go off. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no. It was just an idea, totally separate. That
okay.
So,
I did see the light bulb.
well, and that's because it's literally what it was. Like, how can we light your pieces, Karen?
Yes, I've been experimenting a lot with color. Once again, music harmonically is just like the prism of light. So there are so many different layers of sound. Just like when you look at a crystal and you have light coming through it, you'll see the full spectrum of colors. It's the same thing with sound. That's why I love the comparison of light and sound. They really are, they're related. They're related in a beautiful way. I haven't been able to put my finger exactly on what that is. But then you have people, of course, I've been on so much reading around this, people who see colors when they hear sound. There's a special name for it, but they literally will hear something, oh, that's green. That's got so many beautiful greens and yellows in it.
Oh, like, cool.
Wow. What? She's not on any drugs. That is so cool.
That's very cool.
Right. So how many frequencies have we turned off so that we don't see the colors in our sound?
Yeah.
Right.
Do you guys have any questions?
I have to jump. I'm sorry.
No worries. We're right at an hour, so I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions. And I know there were people that wanted to be on that had questions, so
you guys can always write to me bye, Ellen. Thank you so much. You can always write to me at Karen Jones HTS at Gmail. HTS stands for Hearts That Sing. That's my website.
Can you repeat that again, please, Karen? Slower.
Karen, you can write to me at Karen Jones. That's Karen with a K, not Karen with a C, because Karen with a C goes snuck. It's simple as can be. See, Karen. Sorry. I stole that from Liza Minnelli. Karen Jones HTS, which is Hearts That Sing at gmail.com. Or you can go straight to my website and connect to me through my website, which is heartsthatsing.com.
And through Facebook as well.
And through Facebook, oh my God, you can, yes. Karen Jones, just look up Karen Jones Las Vegas, you'll find me, or you can go find me through Andrea's Facebook page, because I'm one of her friends. Or you can go to Sound Illuminations. That's my sound page, which is one of my favorite pages, Karen Jones Sound Illuminations. Or you can go to pointofviewpointofme.com. That's my Access E page. So I've got a lot of pages. Yes, or Karen Jones Live, because I'm also.
And Karen, I was asked by somebody who couldn't be on today, how would they best contact you to get prices for the Organite so they know how much money to bring when they see you in June?
Well, my Organite runs from $5, which is the lowest cost and that's through me. It would probably be a little bit more at a store. But the hearts, they're little hearts that I made. Those are the cheapest. And they can run up to $200, $300 for one of my bigger pieces. So if you wanted a big piece and you wanted it specifically designed with certain colors, you can also make an order for that.
Cool. Awesome.
You can get to them on my webpage. I haven't posted it yet, but they'll be up soon. But when I see you in California, I will bring a lot of different things to check out. But if you have an order, just write to me on Gmail and I'll create it for you. Very
cool. Crystal, did you have any questions?
I'm so excited because I was looking for someone to custom make one of those. I want a big one. Like on that Etsy, what is it called? Etsy. Yeah. There's some really cute ones, but I want one for me, like custom made for me.
You just let me know what it is you want, what colors you want, what you want it to look like, and you got it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I'm sure Magical Nicole has her own order to put in as well.
I'm sure she does.
That's she loves been popping in and out.
Oh, that's awesome. Yes, I saw her. She's lovely.
Cool.
Awesome.
Karen, thank you so much. As always, it was fun to hang out and chat. And I feel like my world's gone from this to this with sound. And thank you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. I can't wait to go to Integratron with you.
Yeah. So, and we'll mention that real quick. So it is sold out. I do have a very few number of extra tickets for that. We're going on the summer solstice. It's June 21st at 1:45 out in Yucca Valley. And for the people that can't go, we are looking at planning another event probably in September, as they're closed for July and most of July and August. So if you're interested in that, the Integratron is an amazing place. And you can get more information about that at integratron.com. Or if you're not catching that, you can ask me, you can ask Karen. We'd be happy to send you the link.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Awesome.
Anything else?
Enjoy making sound. It's a gift from God.
Amen. That is.
It's your
Very
sound.
cool.
It's so powerful. Make it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys all have a great night.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.